I think this episode's going to be the greatest episode ever.
You're listening to And This Is Why I Love Comics.
Andy and Mike!
On with the show.
Well, happy birthday, Andy. And welcome to another episode of And This Is Why I Love Comics. I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
And we've just been laughing our butts off and forgot to do an intro, so we're doing it now. Welcome to the show. We've crossed like the 40th episode line.
Yeah.
I just got to say, I'm mighty proud of us for sticking through this for 40 episodes.
Yeah. I've had shorter relationships.
Right? And I'm we're not planning on quitting or anything, but I'm just, pat ourselves on the back a little bit. Some of the early ones are rough, but,
Like season 1 of MST 3K.
Yeah, right.
You don't go back and watch first few episodes of this podcast. Yeah.
Right.
At your own peril.
Yeah. If this is your first episode, welcome. We are old friends talking about comic books and things that happen in our lives and high school and stuff. So join us, tell a friend, all that good stuff. We're glad you're here. We're just going to keep talking, and we have a book that we've read. We may get to it or we may not. I'm not sure. But that's how we usually go anyway. Can go back to our regularly scheduled laughter.
Yeah. Hijinks ensue.
It's time we rise and spill our minds. It's time we feel off our pain and show them or realize.
Let me tell you a tale. So yesterday I was in a town that I don't travel to like ever. We were doing a commercial video shoot, and it was like an all-day event. But on the way to this all-day video shoot, I passed by a comic shop. And the entire time I was at this recording, I'm like going, as soon as this is done, I'm going to the comic shop.
See, I would have gone then and then, gone to the recording later.
Yeah. Those people can wait. Tell them to wait. I'm like super excited about this thing. I'm going to go. And I even did the let me just double check. Cause this was a Tuesday, depending on the comic shop. Some comic shops will be closed on Monday and Tuesday while they get their books ready, or that's their weekend, or, I checked online and they didn't open until 3. Yeah. And then they stayed open all the way until the late hours of 7 p.m. But I figure, you know what? That kind of makes sense. If you're going to put in some time, it's really going to be people stopping in after hours.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's fine. So the video shoot wraps. It wrapped really late. And I get there and it's like maybe a little close to 6 o'clock. So I had about an hour at the comic shop. And the place is called Galactic Greg's.
Okay.
I'm like going, okay, that's a title. I've never thought.
That's well thought out.
Yeah. I'm thinking both of those words individually are fine. There's nothing wrong with either one of those words, but you put them together and it's like Galactic Greg. It's like, there's no hero that's called Galactic Greg. There's Adam Strange, and, Commander Cody, but Galactic Greg?
I mean, it's as good as Batman.
Yeah, true. Or, one of my favorites, He-Man. It's
Right.
like, how masculine can that be? He's so masculine. He's double the masculine. He's he and man.
Right.
So I go in there, and there's an older gentleman running the shop. and very nice. And there's another lady who's kind of like working the who obviously is a college student who just kind of put in some time and
Did you say, "Hey, are you Greg?"
More or less. And he said, I was like, "Hey, Greg," and he goes, "No, I am." I think he said his name was Jason. And I'm like going, "Then who the heck is Greg?" I was like, and this is the guy who owns the shop, and his name isn't even Greg.
Right.
And I'm like going, kind of false advertising.
Lies. You bear lies.
Yeah, you sit on a throne of lies. But yeah, it was like that's not what I was anticipating. That Galactic Greg was not even named after the guy who owns this.
Galactic Jasons must have already been taken.
All that, even though there was a little like, oh, I guess you're not Greg. Okay, fair enough.
Why does everybody call me that?
Yeah, who's this Greg? Everybody refers to asking if I'm Greg or not. I did a thing that I thought I wouldn't do. Because I knew I was going to come back. You know, I'm not going to go back to the town. I'm not going to go anytime soon. And if I did, I wouldn't be spending any time there. It was a great shop. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed being there, but it was just, if I'm in that town, it wouldn't be for that. So I get there and I'm looking through, and they don't have any of the titles that I'm needing. And they have several long boxes. And then I look over to the side, and they had about $15 boxes. Yeah, I did what I thought I wouldn't do, and that is going through the dollar bin.
No way.
And just flipping through issue by ever-loving issue.
Was one box all Propeller Man?
The dolphin-skinned hero. No, it was an interesting thing. No, and here's the kicker. Not only did I go through the dollar bin, and several of them, because I had an hour, so I'm like going, well, I'm just going to rifle through these things as fast as I can. And they were in some modicum of order. They weren't like, they were like all the S's were together, all the Y's were together, that kind of a thing. But it was kind of like they weren't in any sort of alphabetical order within the letter that they were under, or filed under. But one of the things that I did see, I walked out of there with a stack of comics. I bought over 60 comics. I have not
That's like
bought
$60.
I'm glad the math hasn't eluded you, but yeah, I was dying because it's like $1 bins. I'm not going to go through them. 2, I'm done with floppy issues. I'm not going to buy any of those. I'm trying to get rid of the ones I do have, and I did both of the things. It's kind of like if you're hooked on like any sort of like you're a reformed alcoholic and you're like, I've been clean for so many months, and then you walk into a bar,
right?
It's like, what do you expect's going to happen?
Right. It's kind of like when you describe in a podcast how comic conventions are so expensive, and you never spend a lot of money and you can't afford to take your kids anywhere with them. And then the next month you buy 3-4 tickets to a comic convention and then spend more money for a photo op. I mean, that's crazy talk, right?
Who would do such a thing?
I don't know. I don't know who would do that.
But I know there's going to be some people who will be happy that a certain person did that, though.
Right. Absolutely. So what did you buy at this dollar bin?
Well, the thing was, I kind of grabbed stuff at random.
Ooh. Was it newer stuff? Older stuff?
It was a complete grab bag of stuff. I mean, it was like they had random stuff going back and then more current stuff. A lot. What was funny, though, was how much early Image comics were in there. Like, if you ever wanted to complete that run of Youngblood, help yourself.
Nice.
There's a dollar bin full of them.
What's the address to that place?
Yeah, I'm on my way. I wound up getting a bunch of James Bond comics because I've read every novel with the exception of a couple of the short stories that they've, I've not gotten my hands on yet. But I've read every novel. I just got done with the Anthony Horowitz's With a Mind to Kill, which was, as far as a Bond novel goes, it was brilliant. It was fantastic. It was it brought Bond back to the 60s and made him, it fit, and he pulled a lot of the Ian Fleming story elements together. I've talked about this to some other people because it was well written, and it was just a good solid story. Fantastic, and it was his final foray with Bond.
By choice?
People, it's like a three novel arc.
Ah, okay.
So
if it was really successful, he could do more. It's just
yeah, but then the Ian Fleming Foundation, I think, who has the rights to the books, they find another author.
Yeah,
and they've been doing this for a bit. They've had a few authors that have only done one novel, and that's it.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like the Star Wars. They branch them out.
Yeah, like
authors.
Timothy Zahn kind of kicked it out, but then others have come in after him and added to the lore. So, and then some of these Bond books, there was one of them recently that had they pulled notes from Ian Fleming. Apparently, he had some ideas for another story. And
kind of like the letters of J.R.R. Tolkien.
Yeah, the Lost Tales, where Jonathan or Christopher Tolkien, I think was the guy's name, who helped finish those off. It's like, dude, you are living high on your dad's work. All the money that's coming in. Well, so I bought some Bond from Dynamite Comics. I bought some of those, and then I got a bunch of random stuff that I'd never heard of and probably never will find because these were not complete runs. But I did pick up a bunch of kaiju kind of related books. There was a series, it was like a 4-issue series, and I did get all 4 of these, and it was called Giga, like Giga. And it was just giant robots. And I was like, yeah, and even issue 1, I got the variant cover that looked like the Shogun Warriors comic from the 70s.
Nice.
And then I got Ultra Mega, which is kind of like an Ultraman, but like a villainous version of Ultraman. And then I did get an Ultraman from the Marvel run that was in there. It's just random.
Sure.
And it kind of felt good to get random issues because there's a huge component in my head of only get the issues if there's a full run, a complete run. But then I kind of was like, well, you know what? When I was a kid, I would just grab an issue because it looked good. And it's that was what kind of went through my head when I picked these up, because it was I'm just going to grab, if the cover looked good, I'm going to grab it. If this looked good, I'm going to grab it. Then my son is also, he's been interested in alternate, so he's in college studying history. So he loves alternate history, alternative history and so forth. So what could have happened if this happened?
What if?
Arch looks at the comics and tries to find what would have been an alternate history. So I've been getting them books that kind of fall into that category, and he's picked up a bunch of them. So he got the Amalgam comics run recently.
Sure, I have all those too.
So Dark Claw, where it's what would have happened if Marvel and DC made their characters together.
Yeah.
And so he's got most of them. He's only, I think, missing Lobo Duck. And then he's wanting to get the Stan Lee, imagine if Stan Lee created the DC universe.
Yeah, I've heard it's pretty mediocre. I own maybe 2 of them, but I've never read them.
And then...
coincidentally, I picked them up in a dollar bin.
Yeah. So I was kind of keeping my eye open to see if he had any of those. And but I picked up a run called Tangent Comics. And it was DC.
Secret Six, Nightwing.
Yeah. So they just reimagined all their characters. And I thought that was great. You know, they had their own Doom Patrol, Metalman, and it was like it was a completely different.
Right. It did not resemble anything of it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that I thought was great. It was a good, like I know that Marvel had done the New Universe, and they also way back when, and that's spurred out of what, Secret Wars or something like that. I think it was, or Secret Wars 2.
Yeah, with the Beyonder. Yeah.
This was kind of like DC, kind of like, we'll take it in name only. We're going to continue these characters and see what would be a version of these characters if it was an alternate universe kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And it had very much a, very different, distinct feel. The covers, you wouldn't have any recollection or knowledge that this was DC at all. The covers were all different. They all had a very unified, but I think there's only one issue of every title that they did. There
Yeah. They did 2 rounds of it, though.
Yeah, and I found that out. But there was a good chunk of that run in the dollar bin.
Okay.
I'll set them aside, but I did find 2 issues of Supreme that Alan Moore had done for you.
Ooh.
So I got
that would make my collection 4 issues.
Well, I mean, as much as I would say, like, well, that's not a lot. Unfortunately, because of how Liefeld was dealing with finances at that exact moment in time, there wasn't that long. As much as that's the best Superman story you'll ever read, it wasn't a very long run.
Right.
There was a lot of like delays in between issues, so there wasn't really a whole lot of those issues, because I think it started in like issue 41. And I think it wrapped up in issue 55.
Oh, okay.
So I think there's legitimately like under 12 issues in that run or something like that. It wasn't a very long run. These are fantastic books. I loved every one of them, especially when Chris Sprouse and, was doing some of the art, and Rick Veitch, I'm probably butchering his last name, but was doing like the flashback segments, like the Silver Age segments. And it's like, man, this is so good.
I like Chris Sprout so much. I'm thinking of giving him the title of Sir, so that whenever we talk about him, it's Sir
Yeah.
Chris Sprouse.
Sir Chris Sprouse.
Sir Christopher Sprouse.
Yeah. Now, if there were to be an art war, let's say, who would you say would be, top tier? Like, who would make it to the top, at least in the final round of the combatants? Obviously, we have, as you just said, Sir Chris Sprouse. But would you say who would make it to the final 4?
Are you honestly asking me who I would want at the top of this artist war? Podcast listeners, do you know who I would pick? I think you do.
John Byrne. Because it's like, man, because there are a few, like Art Adams, I would put him up there too, because there's like he can draw anything. Phenomenal. Adam Hughes, there's just so, there were probably some people back in the heyday, Jack Kirby, Alex Toth.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like,
Sure.
I would probably put Toth probably at the absolute top. That dude knew the medium. He may not have been as like flashy and glitzy, but that dude knew how to draw, and such like signature look. Gil Kane. I don't know. There's some people that I'd look at, and it's like, I don't know if I could pick a final 4.
That would be. We should do like next March Madness. We should do a draft for the 3, like the 3 episodes we do that month. We'll do a couple rounds each one. That would be very tough. Of course, I'd put George Perez as my number 1. But, who would be my second or third or fourth? I don't know. There's so many. And it wouldn't be John Byrne. Sorry, producer Tony. But, it would probably Greg LaRocque and
from Legion
Steve
days.
Lytle. And
there was a few that kind of were, I wouldn't say flash in the pan, But I'm going to butcher his name too. Like that Travis Charest.
Yeah.
He started off in that Dark Stars comic and was very much a Jim Lee knockoff. But then when he got onto like Wildcats, and then got into his own, it's like, holy crap, this guy's amazing.
Right. Barry Windsor Smith.
Barry Windsor Smith, yeah, Bernie Wrightson.
Yeah.
You know, you go back, and I mean, I know he wasn't comics. You know, Wally Wood's good, but like Jack Davis,
Right.
You can kind of go into Mad Magazine.
Sure.
And Mort Drucker, Jack Davis, you know, that guy could draw a likeness of anyone, but it was still a Jack Davis style. You know, he knew exactly how to exaggerate people in a way that it still looked just like the person. You knew who he was drawing, but it wasn't necessarily, you know, it was all cartoonized.
Yeah, Mike
Yeah,
Paraback. You know, there's so many.
Yeah.
Darwin
Harper,
Cook,
Ringo.
you know, has to be up there.
Oh, dang it. Yeah.
Yeah. That, I mean, there's it's so hard. Walt Simon, you know, it's there's that Alex Ross guy that did Kingdom Come, and
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
my
that's
favorite book of all time.
yeah, it was a great book. So many to choose from. It'd have to be certain category like horror or realistic, or you know, we'd have to pinpoint them down.
Overall.
But I guess there should be an overall comic book artist, like I mean, wow, that'd be tough.
Yeah.
Like, who would you put at the top of your comic book artist? You know, like Jose Garcia Lopez, or
Man, that dude,
you know,
is always going to be superpowers.
yeah, quintessential. He wrote the DC Bible for the 70s. I mean, he drew that stuff.
Unified a very a Carmine Infantino inspired Batman and Robin, but then you'd have, like I said, you know, a Kurt Swan Superman, and it's like, so you could never put those two characters together because it was like such a very distinct, different look. You know, it would look patched at best. But this was always like, you know, Garcia Lopez. Jose Garcia Lopez was like, that dude, man. With him, with Dick Giordano, Giordino, or I can't remember. I butchered people's last names.
I usually say Giordano.
So going back to the comic shop I went to.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You went to a comic shop.
Yeah. And I mean, like, the guy had an amazing assortment of stuff in the dollar bins. And I was really pleasantly surprised. And I think as a result, I found the sweet spot that would justify me going through a dollar bin. And that is because they were in a modicum of order. You know, I went and it was like, ooh, that looks good. Ooh, that looks good. You know, and I did get a completely random assortment of books.
Yeah, that's half the fun.
But yeah, it was also like, you know, I felt because it was in alphabetical order, I could kind of go like, oh, here's all the X crap.
Right.
I'm not going to buy any of the X-Men titles. I've
Doodly, it's all X-Men.
It's all X-Men! Yay! But, you know, and it gave me an opportunity to test stuff out. Because, like, I got this Jenny Zero from Dark Horse Comics.
Okay, I remember that.
And it's kind of like a Ultraman, but it's like a female that gets turned into a giant, you know, robot or a giant creature. But yeah. And unfortunately, one of the things that is slightly disappointing is that variant covers. They got me on a couple of these.
Oh, like you bought the same book but with a different cover? Yeah.
Yeah, because not being familiar, I was like, dang it.
You know,
now looking back at it.
that's happened to me even recently. I've forgotten a couple, like, oh.
It's the same issue. What did I just do? I
Right.
bought the same thing twice? So that was great. And then over to the side, and it was kind of discreetly hidden, but do you remember Hero Clicks?
Yes.
They had a bin of Hero Clicks, and they were 25 cents a piece.
Okay.
I was like, yeah, that seems like a very reasonable price for painted figurines, but it was basically every figure that was in the Batman the Animated Series release.
Even better.
Hero Clicks. So yeah, I got all of those.
Nice.
So yeah, it was. Will I ever play the game? No, zero interest in playing that game. But because it was like they looked great.
Well, that's good. I've been selling my Hero Clicks at the store, but for the most part, I have a few still, but I don't have any of the Batman animated. I'd probably kept those if I had them. Yeah, and be honest about the dollar bins. Now, the satisfaction, you hit your sweet spot, and apparently the sweet spot is alphabetical.
Yep.
And $1.
Yes.
And you spent more than you would have at a comic store buying new ones, because that $60, if my math is correct, that you spent in the dollar bins, you would have probably gotten what, 10 comics maybe, or less.
Yeah, because most of these, they were bag boarded, and most of them had a $4 price sticker on them still.
That's crazy.
So
that's what I don't understand is, you and I felt the same way. Like you carry this stack of comics, and I would spend more than I had planned, but you get more. It's like, this is what I call a good deal. But if I had spent $60 and I came home with 7 comics or 8 comics or whatever, I would have felt like, well, what did I just do? And what could I have spent that money on instead? Like there's some rationale with me that, I'm satisfied. I have 60 books. This is going to last me a while, and I may not read the last few. It just seems like that's where books need to be. And I'm not saying all $1, but if you're more than $3, you're crazy.
Impulse. Yeah. And I mean, I know inflation's there, but they used to be called quarter bins. Now it's dollar bins, which is fine. The dollar is now considered the lowest denomination. They're getting what they can to get away from any sort of coins or decimal places.
Right. And I bought $2, I've seen $2 bins before, and I bought some there. But even that change from a $1 bin to $2 bin, I won't spend $60 on $2 bins. No. I might spend 10.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's just like you'll get more of my money by giving me a higher quantity.
Yep.
And then because I'm willing to take a risk, somewhat calculated risk, but I'm willing to take a risk on the unknown for $1.
Right.
What was, it was like I think it was a Ren and Stimpy. I'll try that for $1.
Yeah.
And, it definitely has that feel, that you could get this for $1, and I'll give it a try. I had never heard of Jenny Zero, but I got most of the initial run and the start of the second run.
Nice. We'll have to do an episode on that or something.
Yeah, just kind of like, well, was my $60 well spent?
Right.
Or was it not?
Or like a one and done, and you don't have to do that one.
Yep. I should have done Propeller Man for that.
Right? Well, that's why I have it now. But
enjoy. The trick's on you. Not to jump way into things.
But you are.
But, I found a BuzzFeed quiz,
Ooh.
and it is all about which Sandman character are you?
Oh. That's me warming up
Problem
for my
is-
choir class.
Yeah.
Oh. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
You bring it up.
you're
You should do that now before we even talk about our book, which we haven't even mentioned.
Yeah.
Marvel's Sandman. Green shirt turns into sand. He has his own series out. No, wait. DC Comics and then Vertigo.
Yes.
The Sandman.
Yeah.
From Neil Gaiman's head. It's very famous now. The original series was from 1989. Do you know where we were in 1989?
Whew.
High school.
High school it was.
And then it went to March 1996. It was 75 issues.
Yep.
And
They
even
kind of came back after a while. And
Right.
Kind of kept doing more.
yeah, it's interesting. In issue 47, it was changed to Vertigo, so it really was a long time before it went to Vertigo. A long time. I don't know where that accent came from. And then reprints, I've noticed, are under DC's Black Label now. So now the Vertigo's
really?
not even there.
'Cause
Yeah.
They dropped the whole Vertigo label. That's
Yeah.
right.
So
They don't even do the reprints under Vertigo. Wow.
they don't.
That's pretty interesting. I didn't realize that. I didn't think about that. Like, what would happen if they went back and tried to do any of these? Sandman, I feel like Sandman was one of the first to embrace the Vertigo label.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's the first one that I really remember.
Because a few of the titles transferred over.
Yeah, and this was one of
And
them.
then some of them started as Vertigo right from the get-go.
Right. Yeah, like Animal Man transferred over.
Yep, Swamp Thing.
Yep. So
This one. I collected Sandman for a good run of it, and then I also got Shade the Changing Man because it had both Chris Pacello's artwork, early work of his, and Peter Milligan. And it had just the weirdness that I liked. It hit that sweet spot of just bizarre. Not so much as because I think Doom Patrol also started off as a regular title.
oh yeah, it did, didn't it? Yeah, I had those early Eric Larson stuff.
So Eric Larson did it for quite a while, and then Grant Morrison came in and just completely overhauled.
Back then, I didn't collect Sandman. This is the first time that I've read the first trade. I've read other trades, but I've never read the first introduction one before. And I remember getting and reading some of the later ones because it dealt with the Lords of Order and Lords of Chaos. It was involving Dr. Fate a little bit, not really, but
Yeah,
sorta.
still tied to the DC universe.
right.
At that point.
And so that's when I've read it, and I enjoyed back then what I've read, but I never read the intro to it. So this was new to me. I'm trying to think if I got any other similar books. Sandman Mystery Theater, I enjoyed like the first 12 issues
Matt
of that. You know, I wasn't into the weird books as you were, but I should have been because they're better written. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I just was not, for me, I don't think I was mature enough to understand a lot of it.
You know, because that was all that British invasion for the most part. You know, Peter Milligan's from the UK, Alan Moore, Neil Gaiman, Rick Veitch, I believe, is also from the UK.
Grant Morrison?
Grant Morrison, yeah, they all come from Scotland, England, Ireland, that whole kind of region.
Starting to see a tie into what I like now. It's starting to look like that I really enjoy old British men, writers.
Writer? Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
Oh, did I not say writers?
Yeah, you might want to put the emphasis on that.
Well, yeah, wow. If that doesn't tell you what I thought of this book, I'll let you know.
Any
But
sort of indication that
Right.
way.
yeah,
Yeah, because I guess this is all like Karen Berger, I think is her Berger or whatever.
yeah, I think it's Berger, but
She kind of went over and was looking to bring in some of the fresh perspectives and writing and approaches that she was seeing in the UK titles.
right.
Because I think
Yeah.
Alan Moore was doing Marvel Man at the time, and taking a very modern approach to it. All the 2000 AD books. A lot of just really bizarre yet not the standard fare that the American audience was used to.
Yeah, and Dave McKean did the covers,
Yeah.
and I hadn't realized. Yeah, he did every cover of the main series. I didn't realize that this team is that Neil Gaiman, Sam Keith, and Mike Dringenberg. They have created listing for Sandman and all that. So they started it together. Neil Gaiman, of course, writer of many things.
Yes.
Since then, and he's almost become a character in itself in the real world. Like, he's worshipped by many people. I saw a documentary the other day on him, and man, he is fascinating. I think I am a cult member now after watching that. I'm finding in my old 51-year-old age, right? Because I'm only 51, not 52 yet. Yeah, dang it, that's soon. But I'm finding that I'm finally mature enough to realize that everybody in the 80s that they said was a really good writer is actually a really good writer. I know, right? Yeah. I mean, Alan Moore, Grant Morrison, Neil Gaiman. I'm liking all these guys that I was already told that I should be reading, but wasn't. And now I know why. It's because they're really good.
And they knew the medium, they appreciated the medium. They weren't trying to, poke fun at it or think it was a downgrade. It was an interesting transition for comics in general, because it went from being, a true escapist medium with the intent of being lesser quality, meaning like the art was not the best artists in the world. It wasn't the best writers in the world. It was, now they've kind of swung the pendulum so far that they're getting like actual writers where you're like, the Brad Metzlers and the Ed Brubakers, these people who actually write, full-blown novels and have a very respectable.
Yeah, but I didn't like Brad Metzler's stuff for DC.
Yeah.
It sucked.
Worse than Bendis.
Right? Almost. Not quite, though. Let's not go that far.
But then there was, but this was like they took comics, they understood the history of the comics. They didn't try to subvert it, but they were trying to like go, hey, what can we do with these characters in keeping with the continuity, so to speak, or the the history, and play off of that history. Obviously Alan Moore would like to do a lot of the deconstructing of these characters. Neil Gaiman was more like, let's just take a different twist on the existing, some of the less used, because in like this first series story arc, it was a lot of it was like, oh, I remember those characters. Oh, I forgot about that guy. So it was trying to address previous Sandmans as well as pulling in the old DC horror books, the House of Mystery, House of Secrets. I think it was like The Witching Hour. and pulling them into actual DC continuity as opposed to these weird like offshoot books that were like, yeah, that was a thing of the 60s and 70s. It was not meant to be, ongoing or part of the DC universe. It's like, no, Cain and Abel from the House of Mystery and House of Secrets were back. The crones, if you would, from the Witching Hour.
I was surprised that it wove so deeply into DC lore. Like, I wonder if Neil Gaiman today, like, he could have just wrote this, not tied it into DC, and been the owner of this. Like, there's nothing fundamentally that he couldn't have had this own character and have, death and all the endless and stuff. There was nothing that should have been just DC related. Like, he could have made millions just on his own. Like, this could have been an independent title. Instead, it's into DC Universe's lore and Sandman's and there's so many characters from the past. I mean, it made it work better. It was more entertaining that way. But I almost wish it wasn't. Like, how did they do a Netflix series and not have some of these DC characters in it? Yeah. Or did they? I don't know.
Glossed it over.
Yeah.
I've not watched it. We kind of dropped our Netflix subscription a while back. Never kind of looked back. But this was an interesting, because like you said, they pulled the Golden Age Sandman, and later issues they pull out the Jack Kirby 1970s Sandman.
Yeah, and then Infinity Inc.'s couple characters show up later, and it's strange. I know John Constantine shows up.
Yeah, that was from the pages of Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing.
But yeah, because they do reference Brute and Glob.
Yeah.
And those are the Jack Kirby Sandman character sidekicks. And it was just, there was enough to kind of say, okay, here's continuity, here's these characters. But there wasn't really, like you said, they could have easily transposed and said, like, yeah, there was characters in the past that donned the name of Sandman. That was it.
Right.
They didn't have to pull those characters in. They didn't have to pull Cain and Abel. These, they could have been any. Like, they could have pulled some of the Crypt Keeper from EC Comics just as easily.
Right. Instead they bring in Dr. Destiny, an old Justice League of America villain, as one of the villains at the end. They brought in, they weren't afraid to bring in a superhero, super villain type person, but there was no superheroes in the story. Like, it was just a mystical telling of like a fairy tale, really.
Yeah. I mean, Etrigan was in it.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Another Jack Kirby. And then Martian Manhunter and Mr. Miracle both appeared, but not in... Obviously, Martian Manhunter was, it looks like a Martian Manhunter. You can't escape that. But...
that made me laugh and also wonder why those two. And I'm probably because Justice League International was a big hit suddenly at the time in '89.
That's very true. That's very true.
Otherwise, I couldn't think, other than maybe the Kirby with Mr. Miracle, but why Martian Manhunter?
I think due to the fact, what was good about including Martian Manhunter was one of the things that John Byrne tried to convey in a Fantastic Four is the Trial of Galactus era. And there was a sequence where Byrne was trying to convey that Galactus looks different to the different races. So it showed, like, there's the classic purple armored tall guy standing trial.
Oh, when I look at him, it's a cloud of bugs.
Oh man, yeah, the swarm. But then, so Byrne was trying to show this, but it had like these like inset frames of like, this alien sees him this way, this alien sees him this way, this alien sees him this way. and everybody sees this bringer of destruction in their own unique fashion. Whereas what was good about bringing Martian Manhunter into this mix was the show that Sandman wasn't necessarily like it gave a wider spectrum of like where his realm has sway. And by showing that he has an iteration that even existed on Mars ages, eons ago, it's like, oh, all of a sudden it amps up Sandman's presence and makes him more formidable of, okay, yeah, there's a power level that just went higher than if it was just like, he's, a deity for Earth, or he's a cosmic being of just Earth and within Earth's history. It's like, no, it goes back to eons ago on Mars, and he looked a certain way on Mars. Interesting how that he looked like fire, though.
Yeah.
Because it's like, boy, of all the things that I guess that would be nightmare fuel for a Martian would be something that's fire related.
Right. And there is a Martian Manhunter miniseries that brings that character back as their deity kind of thing, and it goes into that of all that. So it was pretty good. I'm trying to remember who did it, but I don't recall at the time.
So yeah, there was some reference to the comics, like you said, JLA, JLI, Justice League International was a big deal because they even show like, there's that Blue Beetle, and it was just very subtle. You saw it floating in his cape as an icon. Scarecrow was in it from Arkham Asylum, and so there's a lot of random cameos that were an attempt to draw him further into the DC mythos. But then, like you said, come issue 40-something, 47, it's now purely Vertigo and completely outside of the DC universe.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think the one was at the very end of Sandman, like the Wake. I do believe that some of the DC heroes show up again for that.
Oh, okay.
As there's like this procession of all these characters that's like, oh man, this Morpheus, spoiler alerts, meets his end, which is a great. I always like stories that have kind of a story run and it's done. There's real risks, real consequences. It's not like, well, next issue, don't worry about it. Everything's reset to status quo because we know that, we got to sell X number more Batman issues. So don't worry, Batman's going to be back. And this one is like, nope, there's real peril here and he might go away.
Yeah, I mean, he seemed fragile. Even the look of him was fragile-like, and yet you realized he was extremely powerful and part of this group called the Endless, which I think there's 7 of them. But he had both this powerful quality to him and this frailty that he could, a strong wind could blow him over and he'd be done.
Yeah.
Which some of that was the art, which we haven't talked about really yet. Sam Keith, huh?
Sam Keith, and it's interesting because there are, clearly in the 8 issues that this initial story arc kind of covered, there are pages that are like, that whole page is Sam Keith. And then there's other pages, that it's like, yeah, that's that Mike Dringenberg or whatever his name.
Yep. That's how I'd say it. Yeah.
And with no Sam Keith, maybe like Sam Keith suggested like a page or two, or a loose layout. But I had watched like a documentary about Sandman and how that Neil Gaiman was like, I wanted Sam Keith on it from the get-go, but Sam couldn't commit to like a monthly title, and it was tough on him to keep up the pace, and ultimately he couldn't, so he bowed out.
Yeah, yeah. None of them did a monthly before this book.
Yeah. I will say I'm not a fan of Sam Keith 99.9% of the time, but with this title, he worked pretty solid because it had it felt like old EC comics. There was a grim, gritty, kind of gross feel to a lot of it. And Sam Keith was perfect for it. He captured it. It captured kind of that unnerving quality. But I was really kind of taken, like, because like when I started collecting Sandman was well into the run. The popularity, everybody was talking about it, everybody wanted, But then I went back and got the back issues and trades and single issues and so forth. Kind of taken aback when I got to these early issues, because like later on he got like P. Craig Russell did a lot of art, Vince Locke did a lot of art. I mean, the like high end comic artists that really captured the feel and the genre. Charles Vess, I think, did some things.
Yeah, let me read this list. Sam Keith, Mike Dringenberg, Chris Bocculo, Michael Zulli, Kelly Jones, Charles Vess, Colleen Doran, Matt Wagner, Stan Watch, Brian Talbot, Sean McManus, Duncan Eagleson, John Watkiss, Jill Thompson, P. Craig Russell, Alex Stevens, Mike Allred, Mark Hemphill, let's see, Teddy Christensen, Richard Case, John J. Muth, J.H. Williams III. That's like a superior list of artists. I mean, wow.
Got exceptionally great as the story went along, and obviously anything P. Craig Russell touched, I was like, man, he if anybody were to define ethereal, P. Craig Russell had that style of just thin line, very graceful, very fluid, everything has a nice wispy kind of feel, and the Sandman himself was very whisper thin, and it's like, man, this is fantastic. And so I enjoyed Sam Keith's work, and it felt perfect for these first few issues, but I also felt like, I could see it needing to move on.
Yeah. Now, you know what kind of art that I really like. And this usually is not my cup of tea. I like a more refined and more realistic. Now, that hasn't always been the case lately. Something is killing the children. But, for the most part, I'm a traditionalist comic reader and art lover. But I loved the art for these first 8 issues. I thought they did a good job. It really captured the feel of the book. There was no on what was going on. It flowed well enough. The writing was excellent, and the art just made it better. And I thought they did a great job. And the future issues I've read were, like you said, the art got even better, and I had even less complaints. So, I was surprised how much I liked the art, and that it was Sam Keith, because he's not usually my favorite either. But, well done on these. I had no complaints on the art. It was no Alex Ross, but, not a lot is, and they did a great job.
Yeah. And I think it captured that whole, especially the like Cain and Abel sequences. It looked like like the art from those old House of Mystery titles.
Yep.
And so Sam Keith really came through on that. Interesting to see them attempt to have a Kirby look during the whole Mr. Miracle dream sequences.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was kind of taken aback because like I can see what they're trying to do, and they're trying to capture that Kirby feel, but you know, it was not quite Kirby. So it was kind of an interesting hybrid. It's kind of almost like, why did you feel obligated to try to do Kirby at that point? But
And there's not a lot of people that can duplicate Kirby correctly, or just to have it look natural anyway.
yeah, Ron Friends, that dude was pretty close though, because he could do Kirby and kind of the early like how to draw comics the Marvel way. Definitely had that feel, especially during his Thor run.
Yeah.
Like Thunderstrike and so forth before that. So what did you think about his Etrigan, Sam Keith's Etrigan? Because you were collecting that title.
Absolutely.
Stephen Grant was doing it.
Val Max. There's another great artist that I think is underrated. I didn't care for his Demon. It wasn't bad. I mean, it was nothing to complain about, but I've seen better.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, okay. But I think I almost wish he had a bigger part to play, but I understand why he didn't. Because this was all about the Sandman, and I think all that stuff was thrown in just to place it in the DC universe, and it's what I would have done if I just kind of tidbits here and there to tie you in to a bigger universe that you're already familiar with, and but I didn't mind Etrigan.
Yeah, it was kind of like, oh, it's a cool cameo. And I did like the fact that the acknowledgement of his rhyming scheme, because when Kirby created the character, he didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
But then when Stephen Grant was writing, he did. And it kind of helped, like, if you weren't familiar, if you weren't following the Stephen Grant series, this kind of, but if you were familiar with the character, it kind of explained, like, oh, he moved up the ranks, and as a result, he had that rhyming scheme.
Right. Yeah, and that was an important part of that series that they established that had right for a whole series where you had to rhyme the main character's words all the time.
Yep.
Hats off to you.
I don't know validity on this at all or not, but I knew like Death, which shows up in like basically issue 7. Death was based off of a musician, and I'm trying to remember what her name was.
Tori Amos?
No, it was another. But and then I kept thinking that so was Sandman was like the Smiths dude, but I don't know.
Yeah, you say that, but there's a couple shots in there that I thought he looked just like Neil Gaiman. There had to be. Yeah.
Tossed himself in there. What was that? But they were all kind of loosely based off of the visuals were based off of these these characters. There was a few where it's like, I think this character's modeled off of this.
Yeah.
And kind of jumping into it, the last issue with the Dr. Destiny character, there's a heavy set guy, and it's like, is that supposed to be a certain former president? It kind of reminded me of a certain look to that.
Right. Yeah, he did. Did kind of look like that, didn't he?
Yeah, it's like,
that Dr. Destiny story was creepy.
Yeah, and I will say some of the creepy factor goes away as the series progresses, as it becomes a little bit more I wouldn't say esoteric, but just more introspective and character driven, and it's not necessarily at all the creep factor, but it's an interesting to see how as the book progresses, how much the Sienkiewicz worked in, how much of Frank Miller's like TV screens got worked in, having reporters telling things on TV to give explanation. Very, obviously a thing of the times. And, going back through it now, you're like, maybe this is, some of it doesn't make as much, because you have to know a lot about the DC heroes to know who this Dr. Destiny was.
Right. I'm not sure I liked it. Like, I almost think it would be better if you didn't know anything about him.
Yeah, like who he once was.
Yeah. It was a weird take, and I understand the take, and it worked in the story. I just, having known the other character, I thought he was kind of cool the way he was, and this kind of made him out to be, just really creepy. And sure, he was a skull-faced guy in a cloak. He was like Skeletor in the dream world. It just, I don't know. I'm not sure I liked using that character that I enjoyed a lot in the other series, but to me they were two separate characters, really.
Yeah.
I loved that they were trying to capture Death, but instead got Dream. I love that, like the opening scene. It was kind of cool.
And, it seems like that had been good motivation. It's like we don't want Death to come around anymore. We've lost too many important people in our lives to death. Let's capture Death so that it's no longer an issue. But then, like you said, they captured Dream. And that was one thing that I don't know. And again, having it tied to the DC continuity, was limiting as well, because how do you explain that all of a sudden no one's having dreams anymore?
Right.
How do you back that story up it's like, okay, and back into 70 years ago, we're talking, World War I think he gets captured.
Yeah. Yep.
And, they're like, yeah, and he's been held hostage for over 70 years. And it's like, okay, so is no one having dreams? Is there, but they kind of address it slightly, and it's inferred that, things were there and things started to just fall apart with his departure. But apparently things were still moving on even with his absence, meaning, like when he does go to his kingdom and he sees his castles in ruins, and that Lucian is like, yeah, at one point the library was there and the books were missing, and then it just all of a sudden the library couldn't be found again. It's like, so things continue to run, but then they just slowly, so it wasn't like no one had dreams, no one could, but there was a certain people, because they kept coming back to these individuals who his absence had severe consequence, and how long it, and what happened due to those consequences.
Right. And I wonder if later on in the series, because I don't remember, whether these had these weird dreams or never dream, like if there was some reward later on other than, yeah, I got my dreams back kind of thing when he emerged. Like, I wonder if they were characters later in the series. And obviously I haven't read that in years, and I haven't read the whole series, so I don't know.
Yeah. I read it, but it's been so long since I dove into this series. Like I said, I was getting them as they were coming out, so that tells you how long ago. And unfortunately, I never went back to read them again until now.
Yeah.
I have a couple trades, and this is a dreaded story. And, going back to a convention story here, in fact, and I may have mentioned this in a previous episode, but Neil Gaiman was at that small local Novi, I think. I think it was the Novi, or was it Dearborn? I think it was a Dearborn at the high school, or whatever that thing was, convention center. And there was a huge line for him. And I mentioned it to a friend of mine that I was going to head up to it, and that Neil Gaiman was going to be there. He said, "Oh, can you have him sign my book?" It's like, certainly, you know. So I'm in line, and you know, there's so many people, and I've got this as a trade paperback that he gave me to have signed. And I'm waiting in line. People are all excited. It's like, Neil Gaiman's here. And he was the first, like, mega celebrity, because everybody else, yeah, there may have been a line, but it was maybe like 5 or 6 people deep. Neil Gaiman was just like, that line went around. They had him at the end of the hall. He was in a classroom, and it was a weird situation, but it's just, I remember waiting in line forever for this guy. Finally get to him. And he was super nice. He was like, "Hi there," you know, his British accent. And it's like, you know, "Are you enjoying the book?" It's, "Oh yeah, this is great," you know. And I said, you know, and I said, "Oh, could you sign this trade?" And he goes, "Oh, that's great. Yeah, certainly." "And what's your name again?" And I said, "Oh, it's Michael." And he wrote in the book, "To Michael, dream on, Neil Gaiman." And I'm like going, oh, my friend is not named Michael. And it's like, how do I give him this book with my name in it, signed by Neil Gaiman? So I'm like, I am doomed.
I know the solution.
So I went back to the show floor. I found somebody who had the same book, bought the book from him, brought it back. I went right back in line, and I waited again, and I had him sign it. And he goes, "And your name?" And I said, "It's James." It's okay. So he wrote, you know,
He wrote, "To Michael, dream on."
Yeah, I know you.
I'm not stupid.
Yeah. So I did have him sign it, and it's like, whew.
Twice.
Yeah, dodged the bullet, thought I was in the clear.
I thought you were going to say, so I told James I lost the book, and he didn't get the book back, and I have 2 books that say, "To Michael" now.
One to read, one to have as a backup. So I meet up with Jim after. I hand him the book and go, whew, yeah, I waited in line and I got him to sign it, so here you go. And he gets it, sees the signature, goes, "Oh, cool," flips the page. It's like, wait a minute. I'm gonna go, what? I gave you like the first edition, the first printing of this trade. This says 7th printing or something like that. And it's like, what? What? No.
No, you didn't.
I mean, there was no way I was going to be able to get out of that.
Nope, you had to come clean.
Yeah. So at that point I did. I said, "Dude, you would not believe this story." And he was cool about it. He didn't like get like all out of shape.
One black eye later.
Yeah, we haven't talked in years. You know, that kind of thing. But it was like, but yeah, that was kind of like, dude, I didn't know. I thought they were the same. If I had known that this was the first print and yours, yeah. I mean, they're trade paperback, so really, you know, there wasn't going to be anything about like, well, this one's worth more than this one. It's like, no, these are trades. These aren't hardcover. These aren't the deluxe edition. These are just.
It mattered to him.
But clearly he noticed, and it's like.
And I mean, I would have noticed too and gone, "Hey, now, what's the story on this?"
Yeah, what just happened? I remembered this because I bought it right when it first came out in trade, and now this is saying what edition?
I thought you were going to say there was the artist signature on the second page, you know, from a previous time he had it signed. Like,
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, where's that one signature?
Yeah. Oh man, but I still to this day feel guilty about it. It's like, dang it. But I had no control over it though, because I just was like thinking, you know, in you know that he was, because of his personality, he was very gregarious. He was very like, hi, very friendly, it seemed personable. Granted, he was saying almost the same thing to everybody, but, it's as a trained professional, he knew exactly how to phrase things, keep the line moving. So you weren't like, it's like, okay, here you go. Thank you. Have a great day. And he had like 4 catchphrases he'd write in there, but he would just insert your name, catchphrase, Neil Gaiman.
Right.
It's like, it's like dream on, or keep dreaming, or see you in your dreams, or whatever.
I have a dream on.
So, you do?
Yep,
You can?
I do. Yeah.
Nice. So
It says to Michael.
Yeah. I wonder where that one went. Yeah. He just, it doesn't matter who it is. He wrote everybody. Says
Everybody's
to
name
Michael.
was
To
Michael.
It doesn't matter. But,
Yeah. I do got to say, Neil Gaiman seems like a cool guy. Having watched the documentary on him and everything, he seems like he would be fun to talk to, and just, not only does he know a lot and he's a great writer, he just seemed like someone you could just hang out with and have a beer or something, and just chat with. He seemed pretty cool.
Yeah, and incredibly knowledgeable. I have the bulk of his books, his novels. I've got most of them, and they've been, for the most part, I've been very happy with the stories.
Did you like American Gods?
I did. It was a bit long, but I did like it, because he has written other things for both Marvel and DC after that, and some have been good, and some have been like, yeah. I was not necessarily a big fan of that 1602.
It was long and boring.
Yeah, I mean, that's an alternate history as well.
Yeah.
Kind of what we talked about earlier on, but it was like, yeah.
And if I read that again, I'd enjoy it more, though.
Maybe. I kind of was reading them as they were coming out, so I kind of lost my grasp as to like, oh, yeah, that's this.
I think we've talked about it.
Yeah. I was going to say this initial story arc did a great job introducing the character, giving it a sense of that there was a bigger story that was going to unfold. I like that a lot as well, because there's like hint of like who were the other members. They didn't show them, but there was a hint of who the other members might be.
Yeah, he wasn't in a hurry to show that, and I love that too.
It kept you wanting to read more, and as more would be explained and more would be, and then obviously that initial quest of retrieving his parts and pieces, his tools as he called them, that initial quest got wrapped up in the first 8 issues, but then it also kind of gave you a sense of who he was, and then some of the major players, and hinting at things to come. So I thought that was all that worked out really well, and you can see how and why it got as popular as it did, and it really expanded, exploded, and then it came to a really satisfying conclusion, in my opinion. Everything kind of came to a head, and I thought, man, this is great. I think that this trade was a great start, a great introduction to a character and a type of character that had not been seen before, especially in DC, because DC didn't really have, outside of the New Gods, there wasn't a lot of cosmic. I mean, you had some characters that were trying to be that level, because you had, the New Gods, but you also had Lords of Order and Lords of Chaos, with the Dr. Fate, but there wasn't that level like Marvel's got. You have the Asgardians, you have the Eternals, the Elementals,
I'm gonna keep reading. Like I was enjoying it, so I'm gonna read the next 8 issues and see how it goes. So like a one and done, I'm in. I'm not done. So the last few things we've read has been really wonderful. Lock and Key, which is tied to the Sandman universe.
Yeah, I haven't gotten into that yet. I don't know if I'm going to, because I liked that it had resolution with what Neil Gaiman had done, and it was kind of like that was his vision to wrap it up this way, and then to do anything above and beyond that, it's like, yeah, it kind of, when the original creator kind of moves away from it, it's like, okay, just let it rest. We don't need episodes 1 through 3
of the podcast. You're right. We don't. It's
yeah,
Cosmic Odyssey, Mike Mignola, good. Jim Starlin, bad.
Yeah,
Infinity Gauntlet,
That's
George
surmise.
Perez, good. Ron Lim, good for me, bad for you.
Yeah.
Jim Starlin, bad. That's all you need to know of the first 3 episodes.
Yep.
Episode 4, Matt 10.0.
Yep.
Listen to that one.
But yeah, that's the core of what I see in the Sandman, and definitely, like you said, it's worth diving into deeper and continuing to read.
Yeah, I feel bad that I've waited this long to read it. At least this first trade. Like I said, I've read more later, but I feel like I'm starting to become part of the group mind that thinks, these authors are good. I've always thought about the artists, and they're all good, and who's good and who isn't. But these writers are creeping up on me and surprising me when they shouldn't be surprising me, because everyone else knows they're good. I'm just the slow one in the group.
Well,
I'm the teacher with the stroke. I'm going to hell.
One express ticket, please.
Oh man, it's late. So if you have an opinion on the Sandman, either Marvel's or DC, I don't care. Let us know. Our email is, and this is why I love comics at gmail.com. Our webpage is, and this is why I love comics podcast at .buzzsprout.com. We're on the Twitter at, and this is why I L1, on Facebook, and this is why I love comics podcast. Look us up there. We're on the TikTok. Okay. You can support the show either on the Buzzsprout website, or I'm going to turn on the Patreon a little bit with extra bonus content from this very episode. Just to warn you, it's good or really bad. Yeah. Thanks to everybody who's helped support the show and friends of the show. We couldn't do it without you. That would include producer Tony, co-host Matt 2.0, Kevin, and Matt 10.0. And of course, Thunder Chicken. We use their music for everything. They're awesome. Check them out on Spotify. All these links and more are in our show notes. So if I rattled them off too quickly, or my voice wasn't coming out accurately enough, then you can check them out there. Anything else, Mike?
Nope, we're good. We're good. I'm solid, and I'm looking forward to moving into further and deeper discussions on the YouTubes and how we're going to approach
Yes. Yeah, it's coming up. It's close. It's close. But not yet. Maybe I'm going to try for the end of next month to do some, like a sample first episode or something, but we'll see. It's a busy month.
Yeah.
My son is graduating and all that.
Nice.
But anyway, and this is why I love comics. I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
And Thunder Chicken is on its way. Thanks, Thunder Chicken.
Don't have a stroke.
And we'll see you next time.
then you should run away from something that won't lose. So I say,
Watch out for strokes.
Watch out for strokes.
It takes different strokes. Go back to our karaoke episode. That's a whole new twist.
Who are you? I'm Half-Face.